Hi from me, Bernie B. Today's video I'm going to explain to you more about rolling paint with rollers, the problems we can experience along the way and how to prevent them. And one of the things is, as I'm trying to show you, I'm just spreading the paint way too far. I'm rolling that paint roller dry. But let's continue. Okay, as you saw when I'm rolling the paint, a couple of things you shouldn't do. Don't roll the paint too far. Load the roller what it can take and spread it out in a reasonable spread rate. Don't push it too far because then you're not going to get coverage. Another thing that doesn't give you coverage is if you apply your second coat too soon after your first coat, you're just re-wetting the first coat. So that's important. Adhere to drying times. And then the third thing is the quality of the paint could also be not the greatest. So those are a couple of factors. And the last one, make sure you stir your paint well with a proper agitator before painting commences. Quite important. The most common paint problem I have when I go to a site is that the people haven't stirred the paint properly. They're using a round stick and that doesn't stir paint at all. So then you don't get coverage on the walls. So using the right tools to stir your paint is of utmost importance, please. So overloading the roller is also another problem. Too much paint, it's a mess. Your roller begins to slide because the roller is overloaded with paint. And with thick paint on the wall, what's going to happen? You're going to have mud cracking. The paint's going to take forever to dry. So don't overload the roller. Just load enough for it to roll out evenly. While painting, you're finding that you're getting like this run marks. You're getting this kind of line and patterning, and it's generally that your roller could still be very wet after you washed it out and it's diluting the paint, or the paint is of not a great quality at all. And we'll get to this later, but rolling with a thicker pile roller on a smoother wall, you tend to get patterning out of the paint, and that's something you definitely don't want. I did a little bit of an experiment. I took a board, divided into 120mm slots, and I used 100mm rollers in the thin pile, which is the mohair, the slightly thicker pile, a medium pile, you should say, the poly pile, and then the classic roller, which is a thick pile. And I used smooth paint, thin smooth paint, and very thick coarse paint with all three rollers. Now obviously some rollers will perform well under the circumstances and some will just not perform at all. And this is just to highlight why you got to use the right nap with the right type of paint and obviously the right type of surface that you're painting. So let's go ahead and see how these performed with a thin coating and then also with a very thick, coarse textured paint. So first up, I used a very coarse paint. It's called Fresh Coat, and it's a very thick paint. You get about 2 to 3 squares out of a liter on a wall. And I'm using a mohair roller with this very coarse paint. So once loaded, it kind of rolls out okay, but then fades along the way. It just doesn't have enough pile to hold this thick product. Then the poly pile, which is a roller ideal for smooth surfaces and with a thinner type of paint, also went well, and we'll have a look at those results as well. And then the classic with a coarse paint. Then we went over to a smoother coating. We used the mohair roller, which should perform well because it's thin paint with a nice thin pile on a smooth surface. And then we used the poly pile with a smooth paint on a smooth surface. And it's ideal for walls and ceilings. So this roller obviously should perform well. Finally, the classic with a thick pile with smooth paints. And let's see what we're going to get out of this roller. Smooth paint, thick pile. Let's look at our findings. Number 1, mohair short pile roller with a textured paint. When I started rolling it out, initially it went okay, then it kind of lost coverage because a mohair thin pile can't hold a lot of product, especially not a textured paint, and you're not going to get good coverage on large surface areas. So textured paint with a mohair roller on any surface, no. Okay, number 2, a poly pile, which is a medium pile roller. Look at that, it rolled out okay as well. Almost got to the end, but started losing coverage because of the medium pile. It can hold only so much of the textured coating, and eventually it loses coverage. So medium pile, poly pile, please don't use a textured paint with it. It's going to be okay for the first meter or so, and then you're going to lose coverage. So polypile, no with textured paints on smooth or rough surfaces. Number 3, the classic roller, thick pile. It absorbed the textured coating beautifully. It spread it out beautifully. I got good coverage on a smooth surface. If I was rolling this textured paint on a roughish to medium surface, I would have got just as good coverage because of the pile holds enough product and it spreads it out evenly. So textured coating with a classic roller on a smooth, medium or rough surface, it's going to be okay. Okay, number 4, this is now the smooth paints. I use the mohair roller with a smooth PVA on a smooth surface. Beautiful, covered quite nicely. We generally use the mohair with solvent-based paints, especially enamels and varnishes. That flows beautifully. But with a PVA, excellent, not bad. So a mohair roller, yes, could work with PVA on a smooth surface. And the coverage wasn't too bad. Number 5, the polypile with smooth paint on a smooth surface. Yes, sir. This roller rolls out beautifully from beginning to end. It is the ideal roller for paints on a smooth surface, walls and ceilings. Great coverage. This roll gave me the best looking finish from beginning to end. So polypile, smooth surfaces, great roller to use with smooth or thin bodied paints. Now the classic roller with its thick pile, number 6, and a smooth PVA coating on a smooth surface, great coverage, hiding power of the paint's excellent, it covers well from one end to the other end. Unfortunately with the thick pile and smoother paints, it creates a patterning on the wall and it doesn't look great. So rather use the classic roller for medium to rough surfaces with any type of paint. A last piece of advice, when you're painting outside, please make sure the temperature is above 17 degrees. Otherwise, we are just going to have paint problems. That's it from me, Bernie B. and Hamilton's.